Very, very excited to have you all here. My name is Peter Robbins. I'm from DCU. I'm the program chair for this, what we believe to be the most exciting master's degree we have in DCU. I'm happy to be joined by Tom Tully from Bord Bia, who's going to tell you a little bit about their role in designing and supporting this program. And we're also very lucky to have a graduate of the first ever running of this program, Kate Holland, now in Bia, who received her MSc degree in food innovation just a few weeks ago. So I'm going to kick off by telling you a little bit about the program and the contents. It is part of a suite of programs run by Bord Bia, referred to as the Talent Academy, and Tom will tell you a little bit more about that. As I say, I'm a former global innovation head for GlaxoSmithKline and their consumer healthcare division, and I've fell in love with the idea of shepherding in new products and services into an organization's pipeline and working on new products and service development. So let me say a little bit first about why the Irish food market is so exciting. This is Ireland's biggest industry, and it's Ireland's oldest industry, and it's Ireland's biggest employer. And it is big, dynamic, and resilient. This market has experienced phenomenal growth in the last decade. Exports are up by 64%, and it represents well over 5 billion. Irish farmers and Irish food companies have shown wonderful innovation in opening up new markets at home and abroad. But now that the industry is at an inflection point, a point where simply doing more of the same is unlikely to sustain the growth and the jobs that are expected in this industry. Foodwise 2020 is a strategy document that commits the industry to very ambitious growth targets. And equally, this future of jobs strategy expects a lot of growth in sustainable employment from this industry. And Bord Bia's strategy is to deliver this growth through differentiated and sustainable growth. So let me share a couple of thoughts on why it can't be simply business as usual for food and drink companies. First of all, there has been a surge in support for political and economic insularity, with more and more people advocating protectionist measures, which puts up barriers to entry in some countries. In the UK, our nearest and most important market, losing them from the EU is a significant blow for the industry. And we're facing more and more competition in all sectors, food, beverage, horticulture, and increasing regulation. But the biggest trend of all is that of sustainability and our need to balance the requirements of the food industry with sustainable development goals. Bord Bia's Origin Green is an award-winning example of how to bring this strategy to life. Then we have the fact that many markets are moving away from beef, and we have lifestyle trends with people increasingly moving to live in cities, with implications for the type of food we supply, the distribution channels, and even the portion sizes. Equally, people are eating more healthily. They're looking for the healthy versions of their favorite brands. We see trends, of course, towards gluten-free and sugar-free, etc. And then, as if that weren't enough in terms of complexity, we have COVID-19. And all of these factors contribute to an operating environment that really needs innovation. It needs people who can see beyond the obvious solution, to think more widely and generate possibilities that are novel, original, appropriate, and scalable. The industry recognizes this is a big skills gap, and that's why Bord Bia have designed this program to focus on insight and innovation. So let me take you into the heart of the program now. So this is a master's program on insight and innovation. And we're looking at topics like strategy, marketing, the generation of insights. We're looking at digital stuff and market research, but we're also looking at the skills of leadership, the mindset of entrepreneurship, the capacity to bring ideas to life and make them happen. So more specifically, when you look at any innovation project, you can dissect it into three elements. The first element is the generation of novel, original, creative ideas. That is the most important section, in fact, the capacity to find ideas that will have some market impact and traction and are based, ideas that are based on some worthwhile customer insight. So we have sort of triaged our modules around the phases of what's called the innovation value chain. So the first piece are modules around customer insight and entrepreneurship, design thinking, and leadership. Because when we talk further about this, the graduates of this degree will be going into companies and they will be taking the reins of the innovation process and helping to drive ideas from heartbeat to high street in real food, beverage, and horticulture companies. The second phase of any innovation project is the capacity to convert ideas into action, but also the knowledge of the ability to sift and rank and prioritize ideas so that the organization places their bets on the ones that have the most power in the market. So that is all about strategy and market research and being creative, and then amplifying the positive elements of the idea in a digital age. And then we move to the diffusion stuff around brand strategy and marketing, a little bit further downstream, but also ideas around crossing the chasm, moving into mainstream customer adoption, expanding into global markets. And then we have the practical innovation, practical application of innovation concepts. For each of these modules, there will be assignments. This is a master's with no exams. It will be individual and group assignments throughout. And for each of them, there might be one that will focus on the industry or the sector around sustainability or digital. And then there'll be one that will focus around your company, an individual one, often with similar themes. But these are the big themes that will be underpinning the assignments: how to finesse genuine insights and to leverage those insights into new products and services. The overall design of the program will be, if you move to the second column from the left, the first interaction will be from September to December, in theory on the campus of DCU, but because this program is restricted to just 15 participants, we probably will be able to bring you on campus in DCU. But anyway, the thing will be some modules around design thinking. We have in DCU, we have a Center for Family Business. We have co-working spaces like the Talent Garden. We have the Brexit Institute. We'll be doing a couple of modules and preparing you so that when you hit the ground in the placement firm, you have some of the technical skills around design thinking, but also the influential skills through personal and reflective leadership to make some impact in the company that you'll be joining. So then we move to the placement. Bord Bia will arrange a placement for you that will be discussed and agreed with you, but they will have a number of placements and they will be unable to guarantee a specific location that you might wish, but they certainly will do their very best to manage all of that, the logistics of that. And you move into the company and continue to come back to DCU 4 days a month, generally every second Thursday and Friday, to do academic modules. We have a program manager that will be dedicated to helping the 15 successful candidates to take the academic input and the models and frameworks and methodologies and approaches and help them implement positive changes in the company with whom you'll be working. So there'll be you, the academic network in DCU, the academic content, and then a program manager who will help you make some impact in the company. And that goes on, that placement will run for about 15 months. And at the very end, the final few months will be you working on a capstone dissertation. So a master's is generally 90 credits, and individual modules can be 7.5 credits or 5 credits or sometimes 10. And a dissertation is 30 of that 90. So it's a particular significant piece of work, but it's intended as a capstone to help you utilize all of the material that you've gleaned from the foregoing modules. Now we're trying to be, insert creativity in the delivery of the course in terms of where you'll receive the lectures. That, of course, is a little bit up in the air at the moment. And the content of the course, where we're working with leading experts who I will show you. We'll be taking you to places like Diageo, where they have the most long-standing and most extensive innovation hub in the food and drink industry in the world, in James's Gate. So we'll be learning the best practices from the biggest, most well-known practitioners in the space. And then we'll be going outside the contours of the industry and going to organizations like Fjord, who are part of Accenture, who are like design thinking, global design thinking leaders. And we'll find out how in other organizations and in other industries and in other verticals, they manage to move ideas from heartbeat to high street. And we'll be embedding those learnings. We'll also be going to see what's going on in Kerry Foods and probably Bord Bia. And you'll get a great sense of how people move ideas from R&D into commercialization. Then there'll be the piece around how do people shop and how do they make decisions, purchasing decisions. And we'll be embedding some of the best practices in category captaincy and category management. So you'll understand that if you have a brilliant idea, the sort of data you'll need to persuade a tough Aldi or Tesco buyer to list the product you have in mind. So I just wanted to talk for 15 minutes, and I see now I've been talking for 13. I just want to encourage you now, if you're thinking about this or if you're hovering, if you're on the brink, please do put in your application now, because our process is now at a relatively advanced stage. Our closing date is May the 29th, so you've got a fortnight from now. But if you could email your application, and the details about how to do that are on our website. But all we're looking for at this stage is an application and a cover letter. You will be hearing from us then, and we will probably be using quite a cool tool to ask you to record a couple of answers to some questions. Maybe we'll give you a kind of an online interview, and then we'll be called for interview, which will probably also be online, but it will be Zoom, face-to-face insofar as Zoom can manage it. So that's the process, and we're in recruitment mode right now. If you're interested and you feel you have the right background, we would certainly love to have you join us. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to hand you over to Tom Tully from Bord Bia.
Thank you, Peter. Hopefully everybody can hear me. And good morning to everyone, and thank you, as Peter said, for joining in today. In terms of Bord Bia's involvement in the program, we're really excited about this program. It's probably our most creative program that we're involved in, and it's one that we feel can have a huge impact on the Irish food and drink industry. Just in terms of myself, to give you a little bit of background, I've worked in the area of talent development and executive development in the corporate world for over 15 years at this stage, and I've joined Bord Bia about 2 years ago. And I oversee what we refer to as Bord Bia's Talent Academy, of which I will tell you more in a very short while. I just wanted to quickly just cover off Bord Bia itself, because there's some misconceptions about Bord Bia often and what we do, and people think they know Bord Bia. And often it's people associate us with just the quality mark that you see on goods in your supermarket. And that certainly is something that we are involved in, but we do a whole lot more than that as well. So we are a semi-state organization, so we're funded by state and private enterprise, which makes us quite unique as an agency. But we're Ireland's food and drink marketing agency, and that's essentially what we do. The world is our domestic market, more so than Ireland, and we're probably nearly better known in certain regions of the world abroad than we would be in Ireland, because we advocate on behalf of the food and drink industry abroad. And that's probably what you would expect to some extent. We do all the feet on the street type work to advocate for our clients and for buyers abroad to purchase Irish food and drink. So we do that in a number of ways, and it's various marketing channels, and we have 15 offices around the world. So we have a huge network of both offices, but also partners that we work with. So the great benefit of being a semi-state organization is you're seen as non-threatening. You're the nice guy. You're the friend that you want to invite to the bar. So we are are attractive in terms of forming partnerships with other companies, and that allows us to have a really big reach in terms of who we deal with. So we deal with government embassies and diplomats and ministers from across the world, who give us a big reach, obviously, and then private enterprise as well. So any large food and drink company you can think globally, we have a relationship with, and just a few of them be like Nestle, Unilever, Tesco, Mars, Coke. I mean, we could go on all day, but we have relationships with all of those guys as well, which is great in terms of our learnings. And also, obviously, we also deal with our own clients here in Ireland, and we try to, I suppose, to inform what they need to be doing next as well in order to put their best foot forward abroad when they're trying to sell abroad. And as well as us being a marketing agency, another thing that we do is we have an agenda around nurturing talent, and that's where the Talent Academy comes in. So I run the academic partnerships that we have in place as part of that Talent Academy. So Bord Bia works currently with UCD Smurfit and also with DCU Business School on a wide range of programs. We have 5 programs in total. They all are a different flavor. They focus on different things, but they're all master's programs, and they're all fully funded by us. So all of them are the same model, even though the subject matter is different. So everyone walks away with a fully funded master's from Bord Bia, and they also walk away with really vital work experience as well. The other part to note is that there's a bursary payment every month as well. So it's essentially like a living wage that a participant gets when they're on the program. And the work experience piece of it is key, because we have that network that I spoke about earlier. That means that we've got a lot of goodwill in the industry, and we've got some really, really good companies who are willing to work with us and to have a placement as part of this master's as well in particular. But in our Talent Academy, in any 2-year cycle, we have 85 participants, and we've been running the Talent Academy in different guises for about 10 years. So that's just to give you some sense of security that we have pedigree in this area. So we have a large alumni already built up over the years that we've run through our different programs, and they are now all around the world. And on average, we have about a 70% employment rate post our programs, which is pretty high. If you consider a general average when it comes to these kind of programs, it's way above the norm. So we have a great alumni network, and we have great goodwill within the industry. So when you join a program like this, you become part of a broader community that Bord Bia have in place, and it opens up a far bigger network to you. So nowadays, when it comes to employment, you always keep hearing about you need to rely on your network, and your network needs to be really strong. This automatically opens up that channel to you that's bigger than you would normally have. The the reason Bord Bia is behind this program in particular, and it's MSc in Insights and Innovation, is in Bord Bia. Another part of what we do that people probably aren't aware of either is we do a lot of consumer research, a lot of ethnographic studies through a part of Bord Bia called the Thinking House. And it's like a research agency within Bord Bia. And down through the years, the Thinking House had seen a gap in the Irish food and drink industry, whereby the Thinking House would be doing consumer research, so gleaning data on opportunities, handing that off to the industry. The industry would go, wow, this looks great, but I don't really know how I go about implementing this. I don't know how to fully maximize the gap I'm seeing here. So there was a talent gap between seeing and understanding a good consumer insight, turning that into a great product, and then having the skills to go back out to the market and market that in an innovative way. And that's some of the skills that we hope to fill through this program. And it's an area that we see a real demand within the industry. And it's very much, in terms of the skill set, it'd be future-proofing yourself as well in terms of what the industry needs. So that's why we're very, very passionate about this program and very excited about getting participants onto it. As I said earlier, I think also there's a real opportunity around it driving your own creativity and expressing your creativity through the program. Just on the placements then, I just finally want to mention, we ran the program for the first time the last cohort. We had 9 participants. It was broadly termed a pilot at that stage, but it turned out to be very successful. The companies you see on screen right now are the 9 companies we placed in. So obviously we're going to expand on this greatly this time around. We're almost doubling the number of participants, and we'd hope to double the number of companies as well. But there was a wide range of industry types, I would say, involved, as you can see on screen, everything from dairy, meat, prepared consumer foods, and some alcohol on there as well. But all of our placement companies, before they get involved, we're going to ensure that they're 100% committed to this, that they have innovation briefs that they would like to see fulfilled, and that they're a welcoming environment for a participant coming on this program, because they're equally as keen for this to be successful, because ultimately it'll drive their business forward. And so what I'll finally say is, just building on what Peter said earlier on around there's a skills gap here, but there is also really an opportunity for the right people to come in and drive a culture change as well within the company. And that's why we need people who have those skills of leadership and are dynamic and can influence people, because we feel like we have a great industry and it's at an inflection point where it needs to innovate. And if you're going to innovate, you need to drive a culture change as well. So you will need to have that type of personality and passion to do that. And ultimately then, hopefully you might be successful in staying on with that company. But if you chose to leave it even, you're leaving a legacy of that innovation behind you. And that's what we hope to get from this program as well. So I'll leave it at that, Peter, for now.
Thank you, Tom. Very interesting and very nicely expressed. Now, you've really teed up Kate Holland very well. She's got to be dynamic, capable of leadership, culture change, leave an enduring legacy. So, Kate, we've gone through an extensive process of trying to find the right people. The last time the course was confined to just 10. And one of our leading alumni is Kate Holland, who now works for Bord Bia. Kate, I'm rather hoping you're on the call, but we'd love you to say a little bit about why you applied and what the experience was like and what you're up to now or how it's helped.
Yeah, Peter, I'm on the call. How are you? And Anna, how are you, Tom? Nice to hear from you both. I suppose I could say a few words. I said I might do it around a bit of a timeline, start with my own background and applying and my experience and where I am now. So I suppose going back to the start, then I would have studied as part of my undergraduate. I studied human nutrition in UCD. Would have gone to UCD and started studying nutrition with food and health being my main interests and passion. And I suppose along that road, deciding that after I finished up my undergraduate, that I wanted to go into a career in the food industry. So I suppose I was lucky enough to go straight from my undergraduate to the master's. I graduated from UCD in 2017, so I was fairly fresh out. This is why I applied for the course. It was a unique opportunity in that it offered you, I suppose, a placement, but as well as that, you have your master's. So I discovered that I was actually really interested in the kind of marketing route, in entrepreneurship, market research, insights. So it was a great opportunity for me to continue studying, but as well as that, put that kind of theory into practice in the work placement. So as I mentioned, I had the passion and industry to go into the food industry, and that's where I wanted to progress my interests. So it was a really unique opportunity, and for me it was, I suppose as well, I was fairly fresh out. It was an opportunity to get the foot in the door while upskilling academically as well. And I suppose that partnership with Bord Bia was very advantageous in that it was that link, and I suppose the opportunities it was bringing. And Bord Bia is very much so, I suppose, international focused. So there's a lot of scope for opportunity there if you want to go down that road. So I then applied and went through the various stages, interviews and all the rest. And we started our induction period in, it was November 2017. And I suppose that was before I know it'll be a bit different for the upcoming class, but I suppose it was a great opportunity for us to meet and connect with our class. And that even though, so that was in November, and that we were going to start the masters and the placement in January. And even though that we're going to be scattered around the country for our various placements, we're still quite connected and would have been in contact with each other regularly, because so it's an element of the course is it's quite a lot of remote learning. I suppose you are in college, be it 2 or 4 days a month, but the rest of that you are working on your assignments or you are working in work. But it's nice to have that kind of link and connection with the class. Our induction period was great. We was primarily in the thinking house in Bord Bia, gave us a taster of the work Bord Bia does and what was ahead of us, different workshops and a day with Deloitte. So I was just listening in there to your own Peter. So that looks lovely. That looks great and exciting. And you seem to have some really exciting host companies as well. So a little bit jealous, but which are then in January we began the placement alongside college. I suppose the idea here was to link the two and take your academic assignments into the real workforce and model them and connect them to your host company where possible. And during my first year at Dawn Meats, I would have began working with the new product development team. So there was an exciting time bringing concepts products from concept to shelf. And here I was working alongside different teams and departments, be it NPD or commercial or technical, and I suppose the relevance of how they all support each other. And during that time, I did see some new products come to life, which was, I suppose, great and a great achievement to be part of those teams. Also got to work with different customers like Lidl and Aldi Ireland, as well as international customers. Again, they're looking at, I suppose, different markets, be it Ireland or international, and the different consumer needs and interests there, I suppose, linking it back to the course. And then I suppose that's where I kind of found my real interest, and going into my kind of second period with Dawn in 2000. So I was kind of working with the NPD team for all of 2018. And then I suppose from the start of 2019, then I suppose moved more into a role with working on that kind of market insights and market research. I suppose I saw a bit of a gap there with Dawn and the way they worked, and an opportunity to, I suppose, make a role for myself, and looking at making Dawn more proactive rather than reactive. So would have created a lot of like industry reports and research and insights, which I would have shared with the wider team. So I suppose going back to what Tom, you were saying, creating that legacy within your workplace, and kind of making your own stamp there. And with that, it was great to merge your learnings from the masters and your work and experience with Bord Bia and the work placement. So it was a real kind of merged experience between the three, which was great. And I suppose it just learnings then, looking back at the masters and how I brought them into the workforce, would be looking at the design thinking and how it is a consumer focused approach, entering each project open-minded with a wide lens. And so it's taught me now, even when you hear an interesting statistic or a fact and you're kind of digging deeper to know the why about these insights. And we would have done a lot of work on, I suppose, delving into consumer attitudes, consumer behaviours in light of trends and dietary lifestyle trends. And I suppose for current applicants, it'll be a really interesting time with, so it's COVID insights and how food industry, consumer behaviours and attitudes towards food will change now with COVID and all that goes with it. So a really exciting, I suppose, area to be working in the industry if you were interested in a role like that. And I suppose I have to say as well, an excellent opportunity with this course is the contacts that can be made, be it between your classmates in their respective host companies, your masters, your lecturers, and Bord Bia. And I suppose to delve into the contacts and the connections and experiences that you get from the course, I'm really grateful for these. And I'd say, now, without a shadow of a doubt, I wouldn't be in my current role that I'm in now if I didn't have those. I suppose it is a nice chance to get working on different projects with Bord Bia with, I suppose, from consumers to retailers to food companies. So it is a nice overview from, I suppose, the whole timeline of the product, and you get a nice overview from that kind of concept to shelf. And I suppose if I did have any advice for students going forward, if they were lucky enough to get a position on it, I would say to avail of these opportunities, to use these contacts and be proactive and show initiative in the workplace. Like that, if you found kind of a particular area of interest for yourself, or you see potential for a project, reach out. That I'm sure Peter and the team in DCU, as well as Bord Bia, they have a vast array of resources, from market research to different market research tools, and the librarians in Bord Bia. So there is a great, I suppose, network to reach out to there. And I'm sure, like they say, the more you put in, the more you get out, is very true to hear as well. So I suppose that was kind of my background and my journey through it all. And I'm now working with Glambia, as is up on the screen there now. It's great to bring my, I suppose, interest in food and innovation come into life in my new role, as well as merging that with my passion for health and nutrition. And Bia is a great company to be in, to be able to do that. So I'm working in market activation, so be working on some exciting innovation projects in the future and getting these to market. And I am working with international markets, so I suppose it's very fitting to where I've come from to where I am now. And like that, if it hadn't been for those experiences and the courses, wouldn't be where I am now. So it is a great opportunity. So hopefully that gives a nice overview of my experience to date. So if there's any questions, I'll do my best to ask. Hopefully I tick the boxes there, Peter.
Kate, that was great. Thank you very much indeed. And a worthy poster alumnus for the program. And it's great to hear. May I just ask you one question, which is that all of the practices we're talking about, the very sophisticated, high-level mining for insights and crafting solid foundations for ideation to generate ideas that might at some point hit the shelf, as you say. Those are practices that someone could easily assume are restricted to the high-tech firms like Google and Facebook and stuff. And when you then describe going into through the gates of Dawn Meats, where it's a sort of a tough business, how did you find that, trying to be the champion of new practices in a very established firm? How did you meet that challenge, or how did you find all that?
Yeah, well, I suppose being the meat industry, it is quite traditional, and in that a lot of companies are very, I suppose, what would you say, their insight, or I suppose new product development would be very production led and what is feasible on current and existing lines. But I suppose it's about getting creative with that, and be that looking at what different claims can we make, what's the best we can make from the existing product with a new light on that or a new lens on that, like looking at what are consumers actually looking out for, and can we market this, maybe have the same product, it has all the same qualities, but maybe how can we approach this and connect with the consumer in a different way. I suppose you have to be wary of who your customer is as well, and I suppose working with Aldi and Lidl, I suppose a lot of that is you have to go with, I suppose, different innovations that they're looking for as well. So I suppose it does really bring it back to the consumer and what the consumer are looking for, and how we can, I suppose, make that link and connect with them in the best way we can.
Okay, so it all returns to the consumer. Well, so we seem to be getting so good at these webinars that we're slightly ahead of time. So that gives us a little bit of time to open up for questions. So if you've something to ask any of us, please do. As I say, there's a fortnight now between now and when we need you to apply. So if there's something on your mind, now is the time to ask. You might all be automatically muted, so you might have to unmute yourself as a first step.
I'd say there's a question in the chat box for you there, Peter.
Is there? Oh, hang on now. I seem to have lost the chat box entirely, but anyway, I'll